Okay, welcome everyone to the HAF Summer 2023 check-in. So there's quite a lot to cover for the session today, but hopefully we'll be able to get through everything in time. So just going to start by doing some welcome and introduction. So hopefully everyone knows me, but I'm Nikki. I am the lead for the HAF program in Westminster and RBKC, and I work for the council. I can't see my screen, but I'm just going to go, Nora, if you want to introduce yourself next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Nora from Young Westminster Foundation. I work with Nikki and Rebecca and Geraldine and support them. Between us, we administer the HAF provision. Yeah, thanks for coming. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Nora. Geraldine?
Hi everybody, my name is Geraldine Bradbury. I work in the commissioning team across the Borough and I support with the HAF. Thanks again for joining today.
And Rebecca.
Rebecca, I think you're on mute, sorry.
Sorry, I'll start again. Hi, can you see me now and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Rebecca Lindsley. I work in Children's Commissioning and I'm working on the HAF programme with Geraldine and Nikki.
Fine, thanks. Okay, so just some house rules. Trying to keep yourself on mute if you are in a noisy place, just so there's not so much feedback. And we're going to open it up to questions at the end, but obviously after each section, we'll have some time for questions. And if you prefer to just write it in the chat, you can do that as well. So whatever you feel comfortable with.
Nikki, before starting the meetings, I want to talk to Central London Youth Development Trust. I have an appointment, doctor appointment, 11:10, so I leave it early. But I am quite happy if any resources or anything you can send to me by email. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will. I've recorded this session, and then we will send around the slides afterwards as well, because there's quite a few other people who weren't able to make the session. So you'll have access to everything after.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, so just an agenda of what we'll be covering today. So we're going to review the Easter provision, which was quite successful, and I think you'll all be happy to kind of see how that went. And then some focus areas for the summer, so looking at quality assurance, and that kind of relates to that compliance checklist I sent around last week. We'll discuss around data sharing and protection, free school meal guidance, as there's a million different schemes going on in Westminster right now, so kind of what the differences are. Nora will speak a bit about engagement and feedback and what our plans are for the summer. And then there's the DfE audit, which we'll discuss as well. You should have received an email from Rebecca about that on Friday. And then just general conversation around summer provision, if you have any updates from your end, and kind of just an opportunity for everyone to share ideas. So this is just the overview of Easter. So I compared it with Easter of last year, of 2022. So you can see it was quite successful. Overall, we had around 1,400 children and young people attend. What we've started to do is, because of the long-term applications and the long-term scheme, we kind of know now how many places per day we're paying for through the HAF funding. So you can see I've added in that extra line about HAF funded participants. So these are places we know that we've paid for, as opposed to some of the provisions that use match funding to offer other places, or paid places, or paid what you can. So this is the difference there. A number of free school meal eligible children and young people attended. That increased significantly. So you can see it's gone up by almost 400 young people, which is great to see that, the uptake is increasing so much. And, everyone's really excited about all the different activities that are on offer. The free school meal percentage, so again, that's increased quite significantly by almost 20%. as you're all aware, the DfE kind of sets it as 85%. So still have a bit of work to do, but I think this is like fantastic of how much improvement we've made in the last year. And that's obviously thanks to all of you. The percentage of children with SEND or additional needs, so it's around 24%. So it's quite high, it's quite significant, and we actually get that data from the school census, so it's not based on self-reported data. So we know that that's quite an accurate number. Refugees and asylum seekers that access HAF provisions, over 100. So this is something new we've also just started collecting, but the number is quite high across both local authorities as well. And then the number of meals served. So this also kind of translates to the number of sessions attended, but you can see it's close to 6,000 meals. So that is over the span of a 2-week holiday, knowing that 6,000 healthy meals were provided to children and young people. I think that's amazing. So I just want to thank you all for all of your hard work over Easter. It was such a great provision. There's some pictures and quotes that I got from different providers. It was a great success, and we've told the council about it, and they're very happy with how well it's been doing. So just a big thank you to all of you. So the first thing we're going to get into is about quality assurance. So I'll pass it over to Geraldine for that item.
Hi, everybody. Just to come to this slide now around quality assurance. So I think all of you obviously will have seen your SLAs and the context and our kind of areas of focus for this year. But quality and safety provision has always been, obviously very high on our agendas, but it really is a major area of focus for us in terms of assuring provision before the summer holidays start. I think, as you are aware, we're in a longer term kind of process with you now. We did the longer term grant process back in October of 2022. At that point, you obviously all submitted compliance documentation, which we checked at that point. But due to the way that we're running the process, it is still important for us to make sure that all of that compliance documentation is kind of rechecked and kind of brought up to date before the start of each holiday period. And previously, we would have done a separate kind of grant round, so we would have been doing that work anyway. So it's important for us to kind of carry on and maintain that work through this new kind of longer term arrangement. I think you all have hopefully seen a compliance checklist that Nikki sent around last week, I think. And basically that kind of it's a really kind of simple, easy to kind of fill in Google Doc, which is focusing on the kind of key areas around quality assurance, which are food safety, safeguarding, and health and safety. It's really a chance for you to kind of let us know what you're doing, and as we're saying, to make sure that all the documents that we have are up to date. But also, we've put in some kind of reminders about links to various useful websites where you can go for support, but also it's a really good opportunity for you to let us know what other support you need, and it's really helpful for us to get that kind of globally across all of the providers, both across Westminster and RBKC, and we can then hopefully, if we're getting enough kind of feedback, we can develop kind of specific training or offer specific sessions. So it's really kind of to make sure that everybody's getting the right support. So yeah, I mean, I've just gone over those 3 areas. I'm just going to go over them in a bit more detail. So Nikki, if you could just go on to the next slide, that would be great. So I'm just going to go through these really quickly. As we said, within that form that Nikki sent out, there are links to various kind of websites, etc. But please do come back to us if there's anything that you require support on. So in terms of food safety, taking that area first, so it is really important that if you are prepping food, that says on site there, but that should be on site, that you are registered as a food business. If you're not kind of prepping food on site yourselves, you've got external caterers coming in, they should be registered as a food business. And yeah, as we said, all the kind of relevant information about how to do that is included within the form. Obviously, if you're not kind of cooking food on site, or if you're not bringing external caterers in, it's really important that you've got the correct storage if you're buying in pre-packaged food. I think you're all aware that, you know, a very kind of like strong focus of the HAF is around nutrition and ensuring that the, you know, the food provided is really nutritious, is of a high standard. The school food standards is the kind of ideal standard that is held by the HAF, and the meal provided should ideally be meeting those standards. And again, there's some kind of guidance around that. In terms of, you know, just kind of going back to whether you are kind of prepping food on site, if you are doing that, it is really important that your staff have the correct training and certification in terms of food handling. So there's the level 1, which is, you know, if you're just handling, and level 2 if you're actually going to be kind of making that food yourself. And again, we can offer kind of guidance around training that in that area. I think there was a key kind of change in legislation either last year or the year before that. I think you probably all have heard about Natasha's law, and there's legal, you know, requirements on everybody now in terms of labelling food and managing allergies. So that is obviously really important, and, you know, really good to seek more information if that's something that you need to be brought up to speed on. One area that we spoke about at our last kind of webinar in March as well is around the DfE's kind of guidance for this year, really about trying to offer the same food for all children attending. So for those children on free school meals who'll be getting the, you know, the free offer, or for those children who are paying for places or getting places at a discounted rate, ideally the food offer should be the same for all children attending. And that is, you know, kind of clearly to make sure that there is no stigmatization about those children who are there with a free place and kind of having free food. Again, there are lots of examples in the HAF kind of DfE guidance for this year for 2023, and we can talk to you about that if that's something you'd like to discuss in more detail. So I'm going to leave that area now. That's food safety. Another kind of key area of focus for the QA checks is around safeguarding. This, I mean, obviously is always a priority and has been since the start of HAF. All of those kind of key areas there on the slide are something that we'll be just checking, you know, pre-provision, and also, you know, we'll be kind of checking in when we come and see you over the summer holidays. So just to run through those areas quickly, obviously training, and we've got a really good kind of training offer around safeguarding that is live at the moment, and Rebecca will be updating you all on that shortly. So obviously safeguarding training for all staff kind of appropriate to their level. So there'll be different types of safeguarding training that staff will need to go on. DBS checks, obviously, for every member of staff. We really would like to know who your designated safeguarding lead is, and secondary designated safeguarding lead. Again, it's just, this is important for us in terms of refreshing the information that you gave to us in October of last year. Again, in terms of refresh, just ensuring that your safeguarding policies, which should be reviewed annually, are all up to date, your procedures are up to date, and if you've got a website, that they're made available on your website, or that they're kind of readily available. If anyone is utilising subcontractors, we really would like you to kind of let us know who you're utilising, and obviously the same kind of requirements they apply for any subcontractors that you will be using. Just going to move on to that kind of last area there around health and safety. Again, we're kind of asking providers to make sure they've got the right health and safety policies and procedures in place, that they're up to date. And then alongside that, that you have written risk assessments that cover the specific activities that you'll be running. Appropriate training for all staff, and all staff and volunteers are made aware of health and safety practices for your provision. And ideally, there should be somebody on site who does have paediatric first aid training. And I do believe that we'd have an offer coming up shortly for those of you who need it. And Nora and Rebecca will be able to kind of give a bit more detail on that. Okay, I think I can go on to the next slide now. So just one other area, whilst we're kind of on the subject of quality assurance and compliance, I think, again, obviously, I'm sure many of you have data protection policies already in place, but in terms of the legal requirements, both on us as a council but also for, you know, anybody dealing with you know, person identifiable data. There are, you know, many legal requirements kind of covering this in terms of GDPR, etc. So we're trying to make sure that, as with all of our other provisions across the council, all of our commissioning arrangements, that we are sharing information safely and securely with you, and likewise that you're sharing that in a safe way with us and protecting that information. The approach that we take here at the council is for providers to, I know it's yet another form, and I do apologise about that, but there is a very, very brief questionnaire that we will be working with you on over the next few months. We didn't kind of include that as part of the compliance check because we did feel like that would just be kind of too much at this point in time, and the compliance check needs to be the focus. But we will definitely be kind of liaising with you in the coming months to work with you to fill in the information security questionnaire. Most of the questions can be answered very, very kind of quickly if you have a data protection policy in place, which I know a number of you do already. And for those that don't, we can provide you with a model example. We have already started this work with the youth hubs, and we're basically kind of replicating that work. And obviously, if you are here from a youth hub, I can't see everyone who's attending at the moment. We won't be duplicating this work, so don't worry. We won't be asking you to do it again, but we're just using that as an example, and it's helping us to kind of work out exactly what we need to do. So really hoping that shouldn't be too much additional work for providers, and that, you know, it's part of what you're doing already. And as we said, where it isn't, we will do our best to kind of support you and give you the guidance that you need to kind of get up to where you need to be in that area. Thanks, Nikki. Just go on to the next slide. So I'm not going to go through this now, but obviously you can take a kind of look in more detail at this when you get the slide pack. These are the questions for the information security questionnaire, and there's an evidence requirement which shows kind of what's needed, and there's a suggested approach there. This is what's been used for the youth hubs, and we can tweak that to kind of fit the HAF providers. But really, in terms of that evidence requirement, just to kind of reiterate, if you do have a data protection policy, that should automatically kind of answer all of those questions, and if you don't, we can kind of help you to build one. I think that's it for me. Thanks, Nikki.
Okay, so this is for Rebecca.
You're on mute, Rebecca.
As I was saying, we want to support you in providing a safe setting for children's activities. And one of the ways to do this is through training. So we've been working with the Westminster Youth Foundation and with Young KNC to offer some free training to all our HAF providers in key areas in safeguarding and first aid. So our training offer, I think actually some of you may have already been on the first event, which was the 24th of May, and that was the level 2 safeguarding, which is a sort of introductory level to safeguarding. And then the next event will be on the 28th of June. This is writing safeguarding policies. So this is a really, really useful interactive workshop which will focus on how to update and strengthen your safeguarding policy. Obviously we're aware that writing a safeguarding policy from scratch is not straightforward. It's can be quite challenging, and that this workshop will definitely help you to do that. And even if you have a policy already, it will still be very, very helpful, very beneficial to go and make sure that it's relevant to your setting and that includes all the important details. So yeah, that can be booked via Eventbrite. And then on the 29th of June, there is Paediatric First Aid, which will, this really aimed at people working with children and will help you to deal with any first aid situation. I believe there's also, there's a section you have to fill in first, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's an e-learning module that you have to complete beforehand that takes up to 6 hours, I've been told, but you can do it at any time. So you can do it in chunks as well. But you have to complete that before you come onto the training on the 29th of June, which is an in-person training. I'm just sorting out a venue, so I can't quite confirm yet where this is going to take place, but it's an all-day training. And yeah, it's pediatric first aid combined with first aid at work. So it's a combined training. We only have 12 places on that. And I've given, so 2 of these have already been booked. So if you are interested in that training, let me know, and I'll book you in. And then, yeah, if there's a big demand, and I know there will be, because we had a member meeting recently where people said they need this training, then we'll put that on again. But obviously, because this is, you know, for HAF providers to have first dibs. So let me know if you're interested. Just pop me an email or send me a message in the chat.
Thank you, Nora.
Rebecca.
Thank you. And then on the 12th of July, we have another safeguarding training, and this is sort of level 3. We're calling it training for designated safeguarding leads. And this is really aimed at sort of senior staff and the designated safeguarding lead. And it will go into more detail, particularly about how you would go about making a referral, and then what the sort of how you would work with the local authority, in particular the LADO, from that point on. So that's really important for the designated safeguarding leads in your organisations. And that is also on Eventbrite. You can book it now. But beyond our own training offer, there is an ongoing, a permanent and really quite extensive training offer in safeguarding from the local Safeguarding Children Partnership. And we really would recommend and urge you to keep an eye on this website. There's loads of really good training. I think they do training in the 2 sort of main levels of safeguarding. They have a session every month, and then there are other courses as well. There's courses on how to spot particular sort of areas of concern, such as female genital mutilation or domestic abuse perhaps going on at home. And then another one that we would really recommend you considering is the safer recruitment. This is aimed really at keeping your organisation safe from people who will actively do harm to children. It's about making sure that your recruitment processes are robust, really. So that's one we would recommend. I think the next one is in November, but again, it's ongoing. So there will be others after that.
Thanks,
Rebecca,
Rebecca.
Rebecca, do you provide any certificates for participants?
Certificates, I think.
Yeah.
Do you provide certificates?
Yes, there will be certificates. Yes.
Yeah, this is important because sometimes other organizations ask whether lead or the person who is responsible have completed any course. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to speak a bit about the Change for Life training offer. So for those of you who don't know, Change for Life is commissioned by the public health team in Westminster and KNC. And their goal is kind of around nutrition and healthy lifestyles for children and young people. So they run like family clubs and that sort of thing. But they've offered to do some training for our HAF providers. So these are 2 options that are available on the 27th of June, and then there's an evening one on the 11th of July. So it would be great. It's around key messages for healthy eating and physical activity. So it would be really great if you can get your staff who are working directly with the children and young people to sign up for this. It will be a bit of an interactive session, but it's quite fun, and they'll receive a certificate for attending as well. So those are the 2 days that are available. The link is, I think it was just sent to me yesterday, so I'll send that around in an email where you can sign up for either time. And then Change for Life also offers pre-recorded webinars. So there's one about sugar smart choices. and kind of looking at, how you make healthy choices around sugar for your meals and snacks that you're serving, and also how you kind of like relay those messages to children and young people in the provision. And then there's also one about food provision in the community. So this is about, kind of menu planning and, how you're offering a balanced meal, that sort of thing. So those are pre-recorded, and again, I'll send you the information to how to download those webinars. But I think we'd like everyone to prioritize the healthy eating and physical activity training, as that's kind of a key priority for the HAF program as well. Okay, so I'll just do a quick overview about free school meals and kind of what's been happening on the Westminster side, because I'm sure you've all heard, there's the Westminster free lunch offer. In September, there'll be the new Mayor for London's campaign as well. So this picture on the left, this is the inside of our new HAF postcard. So I'll show you the outside in a couple of slides. But what we decided to do is this time kind of have a lot more information about what HAF is, what free school meals is, and how you are eligible for that. Because this is kind of a council campaign as well, that we know with the free lunch offers, families are kind of less likely to actually apply for the means tested free school meals. But there's so many other benefits they get if they do apply. So pupil premium, where the school actually gets more money for that child and supports their learning. And also through the household support fund, those families receive free supermarket vouchers during all the school holidays, so including half terms as well. So you've seen from our Easter slide that the free school meal uptake continues to improve, which is excellent. But the criteria for HAF from the DfE is that it's for families who are eligible for the means tested free school meals. So there's, on the next slide, I'll kind of show you what those eligibility requirements are. But like I said, there's various other lunch offers. So in Westminster, there's a lunch offer, and then there's the Mayor of London's campaign starting in September, and then also the universal infant free school meals. So I'll just go into detail about that on the next slide. But also what I'm planning to do again is send back everyone's Easter registration list with the FSM status next to each participant, just so you're aware. So when you start to do signups for the summer, kind of who to send it to at first, or which places to prioritize essentially. And we can also check your summer registration list as well for the FSM status as it comes in. That's two things that we've done. We did it before Easter, so I think it seems to be helping quite a lot as well. So this is just an overview on the different offers. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but I think it's helpful for providers to have as well, in case families ask you about what the differences are. But means tested free school meal, so that's the one, it's the scheme that families have to apply for. So they apply either through their school or local council. So you can, if families are unsure if they're eligible, just tell them to reach out to their school, because their school will be able to help them work through that process to know if they are eligible. But these are some of if families receive any of these benefits, then they might be eligible. There's also the infant free school meal. So that's for all children in reception year 1 and year 2. And it's a national scheme. They don't have to apply. And then, of course, there's the Westminster free lunch offer. So that's all primary age children in Westminster schools receive a free lunch. Again, it's an automatic scheme. And then come September, the Mayor for London scheme will kind of take over the Westminster one. So all primary age children will still receive free school meals. So this first one, means tested, that's the one that allows them to be eligible for HAF. So just to keep that in mind, if you're asking families and trying to distinguish the difference, then it might be helpful to kind of have this slide on hand. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over to Nora for the engagement and feedback plans for the summer.
Yes, so this is really that we are, between all of us, the council, the DfE and Young Westminster Foundation, are kind of trying to want to better understand what the impact is of the holiday provision on families and young people and children. Obviously, we get all the data that you sent to Nikki, which is a lot of the user data telling us who it is, who's coming to the provision. But what we would really like to do is start to shout about, you know, the stuff that's happening. And there's a lot happening, which is a really good thing. And to starting to tell these positive stories, for which we need a bit more feedback from families directly. And so the way we want to do that is that if you have got something in place already, if you've got a form that you share with parents asking them for feedback, or if you've got a quick way of getting feedback from your children and young people, and you have that in place already, then by all means you can use that, and you can share that data with us. You don't need to do anything in addition or anything else. But if you haven't got anything, we have created a survey, which is a shared survey. The first part is for parents to fill in, and the second part is for children to fill in. There's a link there, although that will be amended slightly for the summer, but we've just tested it for May half term. Sorry, Nikki, could you go to the next slide? And I just, to give you a little bit of overview of how that went when we tested it in May. So we had, sorry about that, bad timing. We had 114 responses when we took these slides. They're still coming in now, which is nice. So there are more. But this was from across 9 providers. So not everyone used the survey, but those who did, they got a really positive feedback sample. And I think what worked particularly well, and I can see that Liz is here from Happy Lizzie, is for people were printing a QR code of the survey, which we can provide you with. We can just give you the code, and they put it up, and families, parents, carers filled it in quickly when they're picked up or dropped off their children. So the providers who kind of almost project manage that and like explain what it's for and why it's needed, they got a lot of responses, which is brilliant to see. It took parents about 3 minutes to fill in the survey, so I don't think it was particularly onerous, and they seem to be just really happy to provide feedback. And the feedback that they did provide was really positive, which is obviously great to see. And it's a really great resource, not just for us, but I think for providers themselves to see what difference their holiday project is making. So just to whiz through this, if you can't read it, it's quite small, but there sort of lots of people say that but parents say that they were less worried about the activities, sorting out activities or things that, it's just really good for people to know that there is something for their children to do. So a range of things that they said, and one of the things that we pick up a lot is around food and food insecurity. So that was obviously something that really helped people out. And then the next slide is just a quick snapshot of what young people thought of the program. It has taught them something new, helped them make new friends, make them feel safe, confident, and help them be more active. So as we can see, the overwhelmingly positive response. So if you want this kind of data for your own provision, then it should be straightforward. We've created the survey. All you need to do is like put it up or send it out, and then we can send that feedback back to you. I think there's one more slide. So this is just them saying 100% said that they would go back to the program, which is really, really positive, I think, to say that, all the children, even those who left comments saying they didn't like the food or they didn't like, I don't know, whatever, that it was far away, even they said they will come back. So we were really pleased with that. So we'll send out the survey when it's ready. As I said, there will be a couple of amendments, but if you want to take a look, you can click on that link and we will share the slides afterwards. But that's it from me, I think, Nikki. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Nora. Okay. So the next thing that we want to discuss is the DfE summer audit. So Rebecca would have sent an email about this on Friday. So we have been selected by the DfE to participate in a data audit. So this is kind of to enable the DfE to evaluate benefits of HAF, how it can be improved for children and their families. So I guess kind of doing their own analysis around who's attending. So you as the provider don't need to do anything different. The reporting spreadsheet that you typically fill out, that will stay the same. It's just what happens is normally that data, once you send it to me, it doesn't get shared beyond myself and the business analyst. But what we'll have to do is we actually have to collate all of the data, add in certain parameters from the school census, and then we have to send that off to the DfE. So it's just kind of making you aware that we will be sharing this data beyond the council for the summer, and it's just for the summer. So I will send around the reporting spreadsheet before provision starts. So I think the main thing from you as a providers is sharing the privacy notice with families. So Rebecca sent out a template privacy notice on Friday where you just have to basically put in your own provision's name and that sort of thing. But all the wording kind of is the same. So you can use that just to let families know that we do have to share this data with the DfE. And we as the council have our own privacy notice, which will go up on our website as well. So if you want access to that or you want to be able to signpost families to that, share that with you as well. So that's in terms of the audit, that's kind of all that needs to be done on your end. So kind of going into data quality, because it will be crucial for the audit, as we do have to send this information into the DfE. But the quality I think it's improving every holiday period, which is great to see. So a reminder that the summer reporting will be due by the 13th of September. This time around, we are going to collect ethnicity data, and that's not for the DfE, it's just for the council monitoring purposes. So that's something that we're starting to do in a number of programs as well. So it's not just HAF that we're collecting that data for. But again, coming back to the data quality. So for those of you who don't know, what we normally do is the information that you send in, so the child's name, school, date of birth, we use that to manually look them up in the school census. And then that's how we find out if they're FSM eligible, their SEND status, that sort of thing. So it's really helpful. Like the better quality the data is, it makes it so much faster, because manually having to look up 2,000 names from each local authority it's quite a big task. So things like double check the spelling of names is really important, and the date of birth. So I think Excel is just annoying for this reason. Sometimes it changes it to the American format. So before you send that off to me, just double checking that all of the date of births are in the UK format, because it makes a big difference and it slows us down if we have to change everything. The other thing I wanted to highlight is around the number of sessions. So on the spreadsheet at the top, it asks you how many days of HAF you've delivered and how many sessions per day. So one HAF session it's basically just your half day. So it's a minimum of 4 hours where the meal is served. So it's not considered an activity. If you did football in the morning and then you had a break and then you did, arts and crafts in the afternoon, that's not 2 sessions. It's more about the people that are coming and what's considered a half day. So some of the youth clubs, for example, in the morning, they might have a session for younger children, so 5 to 10. And then in the afternoon, they have a session for the older children. So that's considered 2 sessions per day, because this is quite helpful for us knowing we have to send that information back to the DfE as well around how many sessions have children have attended and that sort of thing. So you do have to fill out that information. Basically, it's kind of how many days each child attended. But sometimes when there's a morning and an afternoon session, sometimes the children just stay for the whole day. So just some clarification on what that means. But when you're filling it out, if you need any more clarification or you're a bit confused by it, just let me know. Always happy to help out on that. But yeah, overall, I think the data quality is really improving, and I've had that feedback from the business analyst as well. She's really happy with it, and I think things are moving a lot faster as we look up the names in the census.
Nikki, proceeding to next slide.
Yep.
One question about the date of birth. Last year, I have had a problem. Some parents are not interested to give the date of birth of their children.
Right.
This is one of the issues I have come across in last summer programs. And secondly, about the sessions you mentioned. So, as for example, children's going for a trip for whole day. So 8 hours or 9 hours. So should we count this 9 hours in a week?
So so you would just cover that as one day because it's just considered one half day. But if it was an overnight trip and you were, doing a residential for 3 days, then that's considered 3 sessions. Is that okay?
No, that's fine. That's
okay.
I'm talking about the day trip.
The day trip, day trip, it would just be it would still be considered 1 session.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's all still 1 day. It's not that people can sign up for the first half of the trip and then a different group comes in for the second half. It's the same group for that whole session. Yeah, and for the date of birth, I think it is really crucial to ask the families and say, this is a requirement to sign up for the HAF program. If they don't want to give you the date of birth, even giving like the year that they were born or their school year, anything like that, like anything to kind of really help us identify them in the census. Because if we have their school name, we know where they go to school, and if we have the year that they're born, we can try and kind of figure that out. It is a bit of a lengthier process, but it is still possible. So if they are refusing to give the date of birth, then just trying to get birth year or what year they're in at school. Okay, so summer provision. So this is just a map of kind of what's going on in Westminster for the summer. I think there's updates to it, but just so you kind of have a general idea, there's lots going on. And we're not that far off from summer. I think everything kind of comes around quite quickly. So the week of the 24th of July, that's when provision is due to kick off. So hopefully you have your dates sorted out and your venue sorted out for the summer. I know like the day-to-day activities, what you're going to be doing, I understand that probably usually comes a bit later, but the main thing is having the actual dates and venues sorted. Our city, so we're really trying to push providers to upload things onto Our City themselves, because across the Biber, there's 80 providers. It's a lot of things to update onto Our City. And, if you need to change something quickly, it's a lot easier for you to just log in and do it yourself than that, back and forth emails. So we're hoping with myself and the Young Westminster Foundation and Young KNC, we're going to put together some sort of help guide on how to upload your project onto Our City. I know a lot of you already have access to Our City and you already do it, which is great. It's such a big help. But for those of you who are new to HAF or you've never used it before, we're hoping having this guide will just kind of streamline the process for everyone. And ideally, if you can upload it as soon as possible, even if it's just the dates and the venues, and just so there's something there on the website that families can see. And then you can add in the details about what each individual day and that sort of thing is going to be doing, but just the main dates you're going to be running and the venue would be really helpful.
Sorry, Nikki, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
because I saw that John put in the chat a question around our publicity and the Westminster comms being aimed towards for children with younger families with younger children, and I guess Our City is kind of the way for you to take control of your own publicity and make it look like you want to look like. If you want to aim at older young people, then that's where you could do it, and because there is a lot of people are looking at the page, so it is in addition to the the council comms, but this is the bit where you are in control and you can just use your own pictures, you can use your own words, you can use your own anything. So I think that is a good resource again for providers. Yeah, sorry, just wanted to
that's okay. That's really helpful, Nora. Yeah, thanks,
yeah.
Nora. Yeah, and I think like we actually check like our city like site hits and that sort of thing, and it significantly improves every single holiday period. So we know we're kind of expecting this summer that the hits are just kind of going to go up. So the website does get a lot of traffic. So it's really helpful if you can put your provision on our city as soon as possible. And then that kind of leads us into our updated comms. So this is the outside of the postcard. So this might look familiar to some of you. I think, John, maybe these images, they look a bit older than the actual photos that we had. So we were trying to kind of balance it out. I think it's just unfortunate that a lot of the actual pictures we had were more of younger people. So what we've decided to do is, instead of normally we were doing each holiday period a separate comms campaign where these postcards were going out around like Christmas and summer and Easter. But we've decided to just do a year-round campaign. So we've called it Healthy School Holidays. And it's just so we can kind of signpost people to HAF all year round, and we can continuously promote the program instead of having to wait before each holiday period to get, the up-to-date leaflet, that sort of thing. So it's really highlighting that it's free for families who are eligible for free school meals. We tried to kind of keep the language as simple as possible. I did meet with head teachers yesterday, so we're going to have a conversation about translating these materials as well. But there'll be a big mail drop happening this week or next. So all the schools, family hubs, community centers, citizens advice. So they'll have a large amount of copies so they can kind of always signpost families. So if you, as a provider, if you want some, if you have your own venue, that you're running a term time, that sort of thing, and you want some copies of this, we're more than happy to send that around. And we have a poster as well, and there'll be digital posters that you can use. So please, I will send an email around it, but yeah, let me know if you do want some copies. And from the inside of it, you could see a couple slides back that we are really trying to highlight that the importance of applying for free school meals and the differences between that and the other lunch offers happening in Westminster. Okay, so I think this is kind of the bit where it's over to you. So we kind of just want to know how summer planning is going. How can we support you in terms of finding different partnerships and contacts? We had a few questions around, food partnerships. Is anyone working with Take and Make or Tesco or Co-op? Nora put in a helpful question about travel. So how you're getting around without travel cards, that unfortunately is no longer available. So yeah, I would just like to open it up to any questions or comments.
Liz, you put, sorry, I just saw that one comment from Liz in the chat around the free school meals, and I think just maybe it's worth us clarifying what we mean when we say free school meals and the universal offer, because I think that so Liz, I think
if you say that, we're gonna have every kid in Westminster, you've got to say pupil premium now, you have to.
Yeah, so that's why we
another way to say it, but if free school meals, it just means everyone's eligible. So on that card that we just saw, it says free school meals.
Yeah.
And people can think that, and it's going to be quite important for us to be able to differentiate between that.
Absolutely. So this image here, this is the inside of the card. So it's a postcard that it opens up. So on the inside, it says you have to apply for income-related free school meals. It's not an automatic scheme, and that it's different to other free lunch offers.
I think that the bit that you see is, am I eligible for free school meals? Everyone is eligible for free school meals. That putting that into small print is not going to be helpful. It's not enough. It really isn't enough.
Okay.
We need to put pupil premium somewhere on this card.
Yep.
And people are understanding pupil premium now, and they understand thing, and that's what we have to use, because it's already people aren't entirely honest about that. You have to get the list checked in any case.
Yeah.
But it will save a lot of your time and our time if we are clear from the start.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're just going to get loads and loads of applications, then we'll have to sort those out, then we have to turn them down, and then we have to get new applications in, especially for the Our City website. This is really important.
Yeah, and the other thing I forgot to mention is that these postcards in schools, they're only given to children who are eligible, who receive the pupil premium. It's not given out to every child at school.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, I'm sorry,
That's
I forgot
good.
to, yeah, so they,
but it's still, it's still, we just need to be sort of putting that everywhere, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I think if we, like the digital poster, I think we can kind of highlight that, the difference. I don't have a copy of the poster here, but if we can put, yeah, pupil premium on it.
I mean, I have it on the application form, but we still, you know, people still are either not understanding or choosing to give an answer that isn't entirely correct.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that happens everywhere, and you know, it's not just in our local authority that that's happening. When we go to cluster meetings, everyone across the UK is kind of struggling with that same issue, and we know come September with the mayor's scheme that it's to be honest, it's just, it kind of solves one problem but creates another in a way. So I think that's also why the council is really pushing like that importance of applying for free school meals as well. So I'm happy, like, if you
I mean, if you can give any feedback to council or anything, I think we need to, I mean, pupil premium does sort of cover it, but if we can find another way of putting that so it's not based on meals, if it's, you know, you registered your children for extra support or something, you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
free holiday clubs, you know, I mean, it could be are you eligible for free holiday clubs? You know, I mean, it could be those sort of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, we might put this bit up on Our City as well, just so it's kind of a guide so families know what the difference is. But I mean, feel free to use
that link to apply would be really useful. I think if people, because people sort of say to me, well, am I registered? I don't know. I've never bothered to fill in the form. And I said, well, fill in the form because it helps you, it helps the school, it helps everyone.
Yeah.
So fill in the form, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, and this kind of goes to everyone, like if you want to include this bit in your sign up forms, or you want to include the link, please feel free to do that, and we'll update Our City as well, just so it's as clear as possible of what the difference is. But the easiest thing to say to families is, you know, have you signed up for something? If they say no, then they probably haven't, because all these other schemes are universal, that they don't have to do anything to sign up for it. And I'm hoping most families would remember having to sign up for the pupil premium.
Sorry, Nikki, I use match funding.
Yep.
That's why in my literature I can say free meal. I'm not saying anything else.
Can you repeat that?
So in my leaflet,
yep,
I use free meal because I have match funding to match the food for children who are not the FSM.
Yeah, absolutely. So for families that, for providers that have other streams of funding, it's not as big of a concern, because you can kind of, it's more of a universal offer for you. So some providers do that, or if they have like paid places or pay what you can. So that's kind of up to the individual provider. But unfortunately, if you only have funding from HAF, then this is what makes it a bit more work, unfortunately. Liz, you have your hand raised? Oh,
I have questions. I have questions about requirements. So on the safeguarding level 3, out of staff, so I have like 15 staff. Sorry. That background, okay. So say we have about 15 staff, and obviously everybody needs enhanced DBS checks. Yeah, that's standard. That's straight away. But in terms of safeguarding pediatric first aid, it would only be 2 or 3 people that require that to be on site. There needs to be 2 people on site all the time who have a safeguarding level 3 and pediatric first aid. Is that correct? Or
So the designated safeguarding lead is really for the person who is the designated safeguarding lead. And we would only expect one person, certainly in a small organisation. In a larger one, you might have one designated lead and then, you know, potentially a deputy. But it's really for the person or maybe 2 members of staff who would take any referral forward.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. In the and the same thing with the pediatric first aid, we don't require absolutely everyone to be trained on that. We just require a few of you know, 2 people per session, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right.
I think, sorry, I think just to come in there, I think as I understood it, I think, you know, that would obviously be ideal. I think as a minimum, it would be, you know, 1 person on site with it at all times. But obviously, yeah, that would be a great kind of ideal scenario if more than 1 person could be trained.
Well, we want to train a lot of people, but we just have to. We've got time and money constraints, but we will train as many people as we can. And then the other thing was you mentioned travel. I do have a question about travel. Do you want to come to that afterwards, or do you?
No, we can. Yeah, we can
do it now.
Travel now.
So we do need to take 50 children on the tube. And we need to take 50 children on the tube. We could arrange a coach and everything, but it gets really expensive to do a coach for 50 people plus staff, you know. And we like going on these big trips with 50 people, and we work it out. We've got lots of staff, and we could divide it up into groups. However, it does cost us like sort of 300 quid every time we take the tube if we do a group ticket on that. And it seems a bit. We can go by bus, but it's much longer, much more difficult. It seems like there should be some sort of, I don't know, I know there's nothing available because I've researched it and looked for it. But it seems that like it shouldn't cost that much. There should be a way around it, or there should be something that sort of offers cheap subsidized group travel and I know not everybody needs a ticket, but most of them do need a ticket, and it gets really complicated when you've got sort of, you know, a group of 50. Is there anything that we can do on that at all?
Does anyone have any bright ideas? I was hoping that there would be someone here who's got a solution. But what do do?
Sorry, yeah, I mean, I don't have a solution to hand, but it is something that we can definitely kind of take away and share with like our networks of HAF coordinators in other boroughs, and I'm sure lots of other people have come up against the same issue, and we can see if there's anything anyone else is aware of.
Because the trips are the key. Like the kids really love the trips. That's what they want. We did surveys. That's what kids want to do, is go on trips, go out on exciting trips with packed lunches and explore London, and we should be allowing, especially kids who are in Westminster, you know, we've got so much to explore and so much to do, and it's really hard. The bus, getting on a bus with that many people, getting on a tube is easy. We've got the tube system completely down. We know how to get on a tube with that many people and get them all on and get them all off on the same tube, easy. But on a bus it's not easy, because the buses won't let you on. The buses don't, you know, you have to be broken up into different buses. It's a lot more complicated. It's a lot harder to get people onto a bus. So, and a coach, as you know, Westways Travel, I know we recommended that, but I don't think they've got like the big coaches. And we would need quite a large coach in order to do that trip. And it's not a long trip, you see. It's not really it's just trips around London that we want to do. And the more we can do, the better it is, really. We want to kind of, you know, some of these children live in London, live in Westminster, don't get to go and explore at all. Don't go in to see, you know, the parks, the museums, all that sort of stuff. They don't get to go out as much, you know. So it would just be good And I'm kind of, you know, it just seems that there should be something for kids. And can we not speak to Transport for London and see what they say?
Yeah, I that was just going through my mind as well, that we can try and get a link through to TfL.
It would be a really good thing for a holiday, especially for HAF clubs, just for HAF, you know, for HAF clubs. It'd be a really good thing. It would be a really good publicity thing for them as well, wouldn't it? To say, okay, HAF clubs could travel free on tubes during off-peak hours. You know, it's not like we're not going to go through during commuter times. I understand that, but yeah. The whole ticket thing, also you have to buy it online, a group ticket, then you have to get little paper tickets sent to you. Send you 50 paper tickets. It's ridiculous.
John, I was hoping you'd have some advice here, because I know you're
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I just
Yep.
I seem to be, you guys cutting in and out. So Lizzie, I got about 50% of what you're talking about, but I think I got the gist. Yeah, we've only really found the only solution to do is to do them in smaller groups. That's why the numbers are lower for us. And, you know, thinking about staff ratios, we're normally on 2 to 15 anyway. And no, you're right, because if you turn up with 50 people to try and get on any form of public transport, even if you're hanging around on I've had it at Victoria Station where they've said you're too big a group to be hanging around on the platform. So yeah, that was the only way that we can manage it. And then what we find is, you know, because we are taking the buses, we just take the additional time. So we do it in smaller groups, additional time, and most of the young people have the Oyster cards to run around with. And we just say it as a way is, it's really nice to be out on London. If you want to explore London, the best way to do it is on a bus, and then we do it in smaller numbers, and that's the only way we can do it.
Thanks, John. Does anyone else have any other, I think Aurora from Kulan has said that, yeah, she does the same thing. You've got your hand raised. You want to speak?
Hi. Yeah, that's the thing also. We also decided to just do either smaller groups, or what we do is we do different trips, different groups. So on a day, like divider, you know, where one, say we're going on the group, one group will go on this trip this week. So we kind of like smaller groups. That's the only way it works. So we say we go on a trip, but then we exchange it each week. So whoever's been on this trip this week will go on the other trip. So that is in smaller groups. That's the only ways. We did try to look for cheaper coaches. It's just expensive. And like Lizzie said, when you go and the train, you have to book earlier, the tickets, and it gets crowded. And so it's just one of those things there. We just thought the best way forward is to do in smaller groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate it's really that's time consuming. It's really quite complicated organizing this whole thing all together, and I can see we kind of want everybody to be able to join in and go on these trips. I don't know. We can do smaller, obviously. We'll either have to do smaller groups or pay the fare, but I think that Westminster should have a bit of influence here somehow. I think that we should have. I think that I'm really appealing to Young Westminster Foundation and Westminster City Council to try and speak to Transport for London. That's my appeal.
Yeah.
I know there isn't anything yet, but I think this summer is a summer that we could that everybody could benefit from that. I mean, obviously we can get around it, but we want to. It's kind of really good fun to be able to go and do something like that, you know. And the kids are really.
I think
we've
already got that message.
They're already asking me, "Oh, we're going to be doing the big trips," and we've got kind of our whole system down and everything. So it would be good if we could do it.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do. See who we can tap up.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Anything you wanted to ask other providers if you're struggling with?
Oh, I've got another thing about food business registration, because we didn't have that before. We haven't had to do that before, so that's a new thing this time. We're using Westminster City Hall kitchen. So I've just registered us to see how that would go and to see what's going to happen with that. But it's a Westminster City Council hall that we're using to cook in. So I'm not sure if I need to sort of check with the halls how that's going to go in terms of Westminster City food registration.
Okay, so we've just kind of made contact with the oh God, what is it, like food safety, yeah, with corporate. So we can kind of, you know, if you have specific questions around how that works because you are operating out of a council building, we can ask that on your behalf as well if you want, Liz.
Yes, please. I mean, I've put it in the notes. They asked for feedback on the registration, and I put it in the notes that it's a Westminster HAF program, and that's what we're providing food. And I mean, to be honest, we've been doing it for years, and it's been fine.
Yeah.
But if we have to register the food business, obviously, you know, they come and check the kitchen. I think the kitchen's very rudimentary, to be honest, but we are able to cook sort of nice home cooked meals in the kitchen, and the food gets quite good feedback. So, but I imagine that there will be that I don't know what, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky because it's not your space, it's a council space, so they can't really.
And it's also a shared space, which is quite that you know, I mean, we've basically hired a cleaner because we've had to hire, which is another cost, but it's important that we keep things clean, you know, from the beginning to the end, and because we're using a shared space and the cleaning isn't really done that often in the hall, we've had to hire a cleaner to do that. But it's just those sort of things that we don't want to move locations. We like our location, but if all these extra emphasis that we've got on it does have an impact on the summer program. You know, it's a lot of, you know, which is important. I understand that's important, but it's
yeah, no, I appreciate that, and it is like there's a lot to do. It's, you know, not just, you know, having kids turn up and entertain them. You know, there's a lot that goes into the planning and the logistics side of it. But we are here to support. So if, you know, if you have questions about, you know, getting these things done and you know, anything else that you need, you know, that's kind of the role that we have, is to support you around that. So please, you know, don't feel like you need to just kind of figure it out on your own. You know, we can ask other people within the council and how these things work. So it's definitely a team effort. Okay, any other questions from anyone?
Nikki, I was just wondering, I know at the Easter check-in that we did, there were some really helpful kind of conversations going on kind of between the providers at that check-in about sharing waiting lists. And I know we're a bit kind of early in the booking process, but I just wondered if it's just worth kind of maybe just mentioning that, you know, we can kind of broker that if someone is struggling to fill places, but, you know, we've got other providers who've got waiting lists, we can help to kind of distribute contacts, etc. And also, I don't know, Nikki, there were some providers who last time, I think some of them more kind of cultural, you know, kind of arts focused providers, they couldn't perhaps kind of, I don't know, deliver all of the sessions, but they wanted to, you know, kind of get connected with other providers to kind of come in for a day. I was just wondering if we had any more kind of contacts like that available to distribute.
Yeah, so I do, in terms of the contacts, so I do have a few that have reached out. So I'll send that around. So some of them are kind of the same providers that I've shared with all of you around Easter time. So there's one about like origami, it was yoga, certain things around like gardening. So I think that's also a great way to, you know, if you're thinking of, you know, what to plan in a day, then, you know, you can kind of have someone come in and do that. I guess the thing is that it's considered subcontracting. So it's kind of just making sure that, that they're kind of meeting the safeguarding threshold, and the DBS checks and that sort of thing. And then, so around sharing waiting lists. So I know we did try that out at Easter. It was kind of close to when provision started. So I think maybe we could have, gotten the ball rolling on that a bit sooner. Because I know there are some providers that you probably already have a waiting list of, 20 to 30 people. But then there are other providers that always have open spaces. So I think it is really like a team effort of making sure everyone finds a place so that families, based on the map, I'm just going to get the map back up, that families are aware, if the provision they want is full, then it's really likely that there's something else near them that will have availability. So I think kind of leading up to the summer, I will be checking in with everyone around, whether you have a waiting list, whether you have open places, and hopefully we can kind of work with each other to make sure that no one's going without a HAF place if they're eligible and if they want a HAF place as well. Just trying to think. Yeah, Nora, you have your hand raised.
I have a quick question. So
Yes.
during Easter provision, we had around 4 families who just wanted to bring in their kids to have lunch and then take them out again, because they wanted to be together, because they have their own personal reasons. We allowed that at that one situation. Are we allowed to do that? Can we do that if parents request that we provide them with lunch?
That's a tricky one, because then is it taking up a space from someone else who?
We made sure it didn't take up a space.
If it's not taking up a space from someone else who kind of needs that provision in terms of like the child care, then, and if if they're eligible for free school meals, then it's okay. If they aren't, then it might kind of just be within your own means of what you're able to provide.
Okay.
But if they are, if they're receiving free school meals, then they should be receiving the supermarket vouchers. So they get, so, just kind of reiterating that hopefully there's some support there. But yeah, as long as it's not taking up an actual place for the whole day for someone else, then it's okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. And then this at the back is just the framework of standards. So we went through this during Easter, but it's kind of just for you to have, this is set by the DfE, so just to kind of have on hand if you kind of need to look back at what the requirements are and what the guidance are in terms of, physical activity and healthy eating, enrichment activities, that sort of thing. But yeah, if there's no other questions, we'll leave it there. And if you think of anything else, please feel free to, reach out to myself or Nora. I'm always happy to help. And we'll send around the recording and the slides this week. So if you want to send it around to some of your other staff, then please feel free to do that. And just get in touch with us if you need anything. And I will be in touch about the Our City as well. So if you already have access to Our City, it would be really helpful if you can just upload something now, if it's just the dates and the venue, because like I said, the postcards are going to start landing in schools by next week at the latest. So families are going to be, signposted to the website, and we don't want them to go to the website and there's nothing there. So if you do have access, please try and do that as soon as possible, and then you can update it as you get more information about your provision. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending. It was great to see all of you, and we're excited for the summer. So we'll definitely be in touch around visits and the compliance checklist and that sort of thing. But enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks so much for coming.
Great. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nikki. Take care.